Chodźmy to sprawdzić, kurwa, bo naprawdę do tych dialogów to niekiedy potrzebuję, kurwa, chyba z litra kawy. Jestem przerażony, kurwa, ile oni rozmawiają, nie? Ile to wszystko... ja naprawdę podziwiam Clive'a, że on to wszystko... Że on ma w ogóle chęć, że on z nimi rozmawia, bo... Ja bym się wykończył przy takich questach, wiesz, no zrób to, zrób tamta, takie małe gówno, no chłopak na posyłki, jak się patrzy po prostu, nie? No idź tu, idź tam, bo mi się kurwa nie chce, nie?
Sid was right. Without you, we'd all be lost.
Witam wszystkich bardzo serdecznie na kanale Game Live z serii Final Fantasy XVI, gdzie na polski Finalna Fantazja XVI, gdzie jakość wątpliwa, a komentarz w miarę satysfakcjonujący. Zapraszam wszystkich bardzo serdecznie i cieplutko do oglądania. Zmierzamy do tego cudownego punktu Smutek Kowala 2. Po ostatnim odcinku, który myślałem, że wyssie ze mnie kurwa efekty marazmu i nudy. No ale trzeba się przyzwyczaić, że tempo w Final Fantasy jest kurwa dość nierówne. Niestety, nie będę dostawał ciągle jakichś kurwa, nie wiadomo jakich kurwa mocnych momentów. Siema! Ja się teraz kurwa wpierdolę. Ja mi zajebał. Pięknie. Ała, ty kurwa chuju! Haha! No i dobra, wykończyłem go zwykłą kombinacją. O to chodzi kurwa w życiu. Aha, no i oczywiście gówno zdobyłem, jak zwykle kurwa.
This must be Ignac's luggage. Nothing seems to be damaged. All right. Let's get it back to Dalamel.
Wsadź se to do ekwipunku kurwa, wszystko się zmieści. Okej. Jesteśmy na miejscu. Nie musiałem podróżować.
I have you to thank for the return of my effects. What should I call you, my good man?
Wyvern. Glad to make your acquaintance.
A formidable name indeed. Well, Wyvern, I appear to be in your debt. Redeem here tells me you wished for an audience. Is that all?
A few moments of your time should suffice.
Jaki
yes.
miły się nagle zrobił.
You're a peculiar fellow, Wyvern. All right, speak.
Master Wyvern was wondering if you could tell him about a certain single-edged sword you recently acquired.
Oh, a true work of art, that one. Karen drove me hard on the price, but I would have sold her Radim here to get my hands on that sword. It was made in the Outer Isles, far beyond the Twins, and is used exclusively by the practitioners of a unique school of swordsmanship. They believe no combat should ever exceed a single strike, and hone their blades to such perfection that none ever does. Each sword is made for that one perfect stroke, and for that stroke only. They crack upon a second blow. There's a brutal sort of beauty to it, really.
But how do they hone such an edge?
Fine question. Why, they use a whetstone, of course. Whetstones, rather. A whole array of them, ranging from the coarse to the fine. 10,000 licks with the sharpening stone, then 10,000 more. But it is the final stone which lends the blade its legendary sharpness. A mineral quite foreign to this great realm of ours. And that is the key. The secret ingredient. Wyvern, it occurs to me that my little lecture is hardly equal to services rendered. Take this, together with my regards. The very stone of which I spoke, far rarer among collectors than even the blade itself, and a far more fitting payment.
Thank you.
Pardon the intrusion, my lordship. However, it is long past time we prepared ourselves to depart.
So it is. I am locked in bitter competition with a rival collector of curiosities. I am one step ahead of the unscrupulous scoundrel, but he is hard at my heels.
Are there many other collectors out there?
Too many to count, but only one do I consider my nemesis. Lord Byron Rosfield, and is a perennial thorn in my side.
I can imagine.
Farewell, Wyvern, may our paths cross again. Radim, we mustn't dawdle.
I think his lordship is rather taken with you, Master Wyvern. Thank you again for your assistance. Coming, my lordship. I'll be right there.
Trust Uncle Byron to find such an interesting rival. Now, let's see what Blackthorn makes of this whetstone, shall we?
Chodźmy to sprawdzić, kurwa, bo naprawdę do tych dialogów to niekiedy potrzebuję, kurwa, chyba z litra kawy. Ja się naprawdę do tego przyczepię, kurwa. Dlaczego w grze są, kurwa, dialogi tak przekazywane, kurwa, drętwo w niektórych momentach, a niekiedy to po prostu mam opad szczeny, jak widzę to, co się dzieje na ekranie. No ale już się nie będę tego czepiał. Dajmy sobie spokój, wykonajmy te malutkie mini questy.
Sorry for the wait, but hopefully you'll agree it was worth it.
You learned something about that sword then?
I did better than that.
Proszę bardzo, strzaskana osełka.
A whetstone?
Yes, but not one you'll find anywhere in Valisthea.
No i? No i?
No wonder I couldn't get the same finish on the grinding wheel. One hit and all done, eh? Might not be so bad if all you ever fought were duels. Good luck on the battlefield. Your second opponent would be your last, no matter how good you were.
Even so, is there some way it could be used to give the curse breakers an edge?
I think so, yeah. With this whetstone and the right kind of steel, I could probably even make a twin of the blade that rattled me. But there'd be no replacing this little rock once I worn it down to a sliver. I reckon we get a dozen swords from it, if that. Swords that the curse breakers wouldn't know how to wield properly, and that would see them through a single fire piece. Nah, no point trying to copy that thing. Be about as much use as a wax anvil. But finishing our blades with a whetstone this fine, now that's something to consider. And what's finer than fallen masonry, eh? Or more hard-wearing, for that matter. Just imagine it. Good Valisthean steel with an edge as sharp as any found in the Outer Isles. I won't make a copy, nah. I'll make something much better.
I'm sure the curse breakers will be delighted. Just don't push yourself too hard.
Don't you worry about me, sunshine. I've been working day and night since I was half your age, and I'll still be here when you're long gone. Hey, thanks, Clive. I mean it. I owe you one, August too. It's good to know someone's looking out for me.
You'll be happy to hear you said that.
And I'll see that my debt to you's paid. First new blade I make's got your name on it. You come and find me when you've got the materials.
All right. I will.
No, kurwa, przebrnęliśmy przez to. Doświadczenie 900. Wolałbym w te niebieskie kwadraciki celować. Szkic projektowy Excalibura. O kurwa, to może być ciekawy mieczyk. Odblokowano przepis na Excaliburę. W ogóle nazwa Excalibur się dobrze kojarzy, nie? Z czymś naprawdę mocnym. Więc może sprawdźmy, czego potrzeba do stworzenia Excalibura.
What's something for you, dear?
Aha, okej, widzę, że kurwa... O! Potrzebuję 300 werytu, skóra Grimalkina. Grimalkin, okej. No cóż. A moje ostrze? Ja bym chciał wiedzieć w ogóle, z którego ja kurwa korzystam, bo... Chyba nie do końca mam zaznaczone. Diamentowy miecz +2. Czy ja korzystam z tego, kurwa? Z czego ja korzystam? No, Chryste, dlaczego to tak dziwnie wygląda? Popatrzmy sobie na przedmioty. Nie, na ekwipunek chyba dokładnie. Zdolności, wyposażenie. Wzmacniacz +2. Tak, to jest to, dobra.
What do you need? So, what it be?
Wzmocnij diament, wzmacniacz +2. No, to jest to. Tego używam. Po czym to kurwa rozróżniać, że to jest to? Ale potrzebuję... Najpierw to. No niestety, no. Niestety, wyjebane Blackthorn. No nie ma do tego w ogóle predyspozycji.
He cracked the crystal too. Joking.
No dobrze. Złe przeczucie. Clive, coś jest nie tak z tym twoim psem. Uprzejmie proszę twą lordowską mość o złożenie wizyty w mycie, jak tylko znajdziesz czas.
What could be wrong with Torgor? He seemed well enough when I last saw him.
A gdzie on właściwie jest? Nasz Torgaluś kochany.
I got your note. You think something's wrong with Torgor?
So you can read. Congratulations. But I didn't say I were wrong with him. I said something weren't right. He's not been eating me treats. He used to love cracking the bones from Molly's boiled brown, but now he won't so much as look at them. Didn't like him. Which is why I'm of a mind that his mind's on something else. You've not been working him too hard, have you?
No harder than usual. Is that it, boy? Do you need a rest?
Ni chuja
What
nic
was
nie
it he said it
zrozumiałem.
was? A frost wolf?
That's what the lawsman seems to think.
Then maybe this all has something to do with whatever it is that's woken inside him.
I suppose things have been different since Rosalith. Perhaps Hippocrates knows something.
Instead of everything, you mean? Perhaps.
Porozmawiaj z Harpokratesem. On na pewno swoją filozofią za chwilę tak w nas uderzy, że będziemy wiedzieć, co się dzieje naszemu Torgalusiowi kochanemu. Maluszkowi.
Lawsman, I need to ask you about Torgor. Something's not right with him.
He isn't ill, is he?
I don't think so. But according to Lady Karen, he seems to have lost his appetite, which is certainly a new development. She says he's hardly been touching his bones of late, and she believes it may have something to do with what happened at Rosalith Castle.
I rather think she might be right, though not about his appetite. All canids are instinctively inclined to crack open bones for the rich marrow that resides within, and I see no reason why a frost wolf should be any different. Accordingly, I suspect it is not a lack of appetite that afflicts Torgal, but a surfeit of it. If we assume that his newfound magics require additional nourishment to sustain, it may well be that the bones Lady Karen is accustomed to providing are no longer sufficient. Frost wolves, after all, habitually prey upon far larger animals, whose bones may yield altogether different nutrients.
No to może zapolujmy na takie stworzenia i dajmy mu kość.
Some antelopes that graze the meadows of eastern Rosaria have been known to grow to a size more than double that of their lesser cousins.
I don't recall ever seeing any that large.
And little wonder. The oldest and largest such creatures rarely leave the safety of the highlands for fear of predators. The last elder antelope sighting I recall hearing about took place near Cressida, and that was long before the village was abandoned.
Even so, it seems like a good place to start.
Good hunting, Clive.
No dobra, Harpokratesie, dzięki kurwa za informację. Teraz możemy się udać tam. Zapolujemy sobie na to coś. Lokalna mapa. Oj, 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 oj. Jak zwykle kurwa droga trochę większa niż powinna być. No ale mamy czokobo, nie? Na szybko się nie da nic zrobić, Bercik. To tak nie działa.
Well, it's certainly quiet. If I were a giant antelope, it would seem like just the place.
Okej, mamy to.
Yeah, we'll find one bigger than that. You hungry, Torgal?
A, umie przyjebać. Okej. No to teraz zbieramy niezbędne komponenty z tych zwierzątek. O, w końcu niebieskiego kwadracika nabiliśmy. 30, bardzo ładnie.
No. Will it be enough, I wonder?
Cieszy się.
I say that answers my question. Which means we owe the lawsman our thanks. You're just a big puppy, aren't you? A very big puppy. You do know you can take that with you, Torgal. Lady Karen will be relieved to hear you've got your appetite back. Come on, boy.
No, teraz możemy być z siebie dumni. Mój piesek nie wybrzydza. Je sobie raz tam dziennie, dwa. Wodę. Cały czas miskę z wodą ma pełną. Chodzi elegancki. Mój piesek ma już w ogóle za niedługo 13 lat. I trzyma się bardzo dobrze.
I noticed you and Torgal had gone off somewhere. Take him for a walk, did you?
No, na taki dłuższy.
You could say that.
So, Molly's leftovers weren't good enough, eh? That'll teach me for treating you like you're still a pup. All right, no need to shout. Now we know what you're after. I can see about getting some in.
Speaking of which, I brought one for later. Can I leave it with you?
5. Proszę bardzo.
You can, eh? I'm nice like that. In return, you can thank Tomes for me. The bloody know-it-all.
It's just
Dobrze.
my way to see him.
Specjalnie do niego pójdę w formie fizycznej, żeby mu to przekazać, że kurwa wszyscy jesteśmy szczęśliwi, bo nasz piesek zjadł
able to locate your quarry?
We
Oczywiście.
were indeed, Lawsman. You pointed us in exactly the right direction. And Torgal's been a very happy hound ever since.
Very good, very good.
Lady Karen sends her thanks, by the way, for your part in solving the mystery.
But that reminds me. After your last visit, I found myself pondering Torgal's talents.
I do jakich wniosków
Do you recall our
dotarłeś?
conversation concerning Lady Jill's role in Torgal's transformation.
Nie.
About how she somehow woke the
Sorry.
power within him.
Precisely that. A reasonable conclusion, I thought, but one which raised certain questions in my mind. You see, the Fenrir of legend served Shiva and Shiva alone. And while the powers attributed to him are certainly impressive, the records imply they are somewhat different in nature to those you described Torgal as having used.
What are you suggesting?
That Torgal may be the beneficiary of more than one icon's power. Consider that in addition to Lady Jill, he has served as a loyal companion to you, your brother, and even the late Cid. In short, the icons hitherto near at hand, or should I say at paw, have been diverse and plenty, and that number has only grown as the realm's dominance have fallen to your sword. One can but speculate as to how all of this has affected Torgal.
He has seemed more fierce of late.
And if I am not mistaken, he will grow fiercer still. We are fortunate indeed to be able to count him amongst our allies and not our adversaries.
Oh, he's more than an ally. He's a friend.
Nie dla psa kiełbasa zostało ukończone. Możemy się wybrać do biurka po kolejną malutką misyjkę Kiełkawala. Nieznacznie zwiększa atak Torgala. No ale nieznacznie. Dlaczego wszystko tak nieznacznie? Dlaczego nie może być jakiegoś takiego przedmiotu, który po prostu zwiększa tak w kurwę! No, a nie takie malutkie jakieś. Nieoficjalnie mówiąc, przeglądałem księgi kryjówki na prośbę Ottona i być może natrafiłem na coś, co potencjalnie wymaga twojej uwagi. Trudno orzec. Mam na myśli twoją natychmiastową uwagę. Wiesz, gdzie mnie znaleźć, Gaut.
Trouble with the ledgers. Shouldn't he be asking Otto for help?
Ale nic, sprawdźmy, o co chodzi. Turururu. Kurwa, ja tędy nigdzie nie dojdę. To jest tylko mój balkon.
Is that the thing Tomes helped with?
Mid told me she was building a ship.
Clive, did you get my letter?
That's why I'm here.
Shh. Otto won't be listening.
Is this better?
A little. Listen, I've some bad news. It turns out the hideaway may be slightly behind in its payment to certain lenders.
Pożyczek?
And it's maybe my fault. But I swear to the goddess, I thought I had the numbers square. Sadly, that square turned out to be more of a circle. Zero, you might say. I can straighten it out, I swear, but it's gonna take some time, and I'm gonna need help keeping it from Otto.
Bit late for that, I'd say.
There you are! What a surprise!
So let me get this straight. You forget to pay our lenders what they're due, and instead of coming straight to me, you get Clive to come to you. And I hope he'll dig you out of the hole you've dug for yourself. Clive, The man in charge of the place you've been cheerfully trying to bankrupt. And you thought this was a cunning plan. Why? Well, who needs paying?
Oh, just Martha. And the dame. And, well, Lady Karen. But only 500 talents.
We owe 3 of our most trusted friends 5 million gil.
Each. 5 million. Each.
15 milionów?
Just the bulk of the money we used to rebuild the hideaway, you see? And, well, I must have made some sort of oversight.
Those ledgers were my responsibility. And it was my decision to entrust them to you. This is my fault.
Do we have that much to hand? I can always ask my uncle.
No, we don't. And no, you won't. We've lightened Lord Rossfield's purse enough. After the king's ransom we had off him, he deserves better than to see our begging bowl. Besides, we'll need to learn to stand on our own if we're gonna make this work.
All right. But that doesn't mean you have to shoulder the burden yourself. Is there anything I can do to help?
There might be. How'd you fancy taking these to Martha and the dame?
Rocks.
Rocks, he says. Worth 1,000 talents apiece. These
Kamienie. Kamienie.
Something
Serio.
I set aside for when times got lean. And I reckon 15 million in overdue debt probably qualifies. I just hope our associates' eyes are a bit more discerning than yours.
I'm sure there will be.
Should be me making the rounds, really. But you know how it is with this place. Orders to bark, arses to wipe, and all that.
I know. Which is why I don't mind going in your place.
Go. Do you know why I only gave Master Clive here 2 star rubies?
Because you'd rather Lady Karen killed me.
Because I'd rather Lady Karen killed you. Yes.
Well, I suppose this is goodbye then.
Don't worry. I'm sure Karen will understand.
Czy ja wiem?
Do you think so?
No, I don't.
Kurwa narobił.
Mid told me she was building a ship.
Really?
Gdzie to dokładnie mam się z tym udać? No na pewno nie w kryjówce. Najpierw do zajazdu Marty, a potem co? A potem tam, okej. Pożyczki, kurwa. Pożyczki. Kto brał pożyczkę na tyle? Po 5 milionów gili. No przecież, kurwa, to jest niemożliwe. Odtąd, jak ty to mogłeś tak zaniedbać, to ja kurwa nie wiem. Naprawdę. Marta, słuchaj. Mam kamienie.
Clive, we weren't expecting you.
I wasn't expecting to be here. But it seems we still owe you a considerable amount of coin for your help with our rebuilding efforts. And though I doubt it's what you were expecting, we were hoping you'd take this as payment.
A star ruby? I can't accept this. It's worth at least twice what you owe me. More if you can find yourself the right buyer.
Think of the difference as interest.
Interest? If word got out I charged that much, no one would ever borrow from me again. Anyway, why are you the one here asking me about this? I'd have expected Otto. Bit much sending the Lord Marquis out to settle your debts, isn't it? The old goat working himself to death again?
Something like that. Most days I think he's the only reason the hideaway's still standing.
Same as always, eh? Back when the place was nothing but a twinkle in the eye of a recently retired Lord Commander, word is he was the first one Sid reached out to. Probably knew that without his strong arm and level head, the idea would never get off the ground. Sid may have been the face of the hideaway, but Otto's always been the backbone. And when Sid passed away, we were all worried that would be the end of it. that Otto would just give up.
His death was hard on everyone. But it must have hit Otto hardest of all.
But he didn't give up, did he? Quite the opposite, in fact. If I recall, he was the one who nominated you as Sid's replacement, and rallied the rest around you. I reckon what he saw in Sid, he saw in you too. And don't we all? Doesn't hurt that you're half as stubborn and twice as handsome, neither. That, and you keep good company.
I suppose I do.
Jestem przerażony, kurwa, ile oni rozmawiają, nie? Ile to wszystko... ja naprawdę podziwiam Clive'a, że on to wszystko... Że on ma w ogóle chęć, że on z nimi rozmawia, bo... Ja bym się wykończył przy takich questach, wiesz, no zrób to, zrób tam takie małe gówno, no chłopak na posyłki, jak się patrzy po prostu, nie? No idź tu, idź tam, bo mi się kurwa nie chce, nie? O, masakra, kurwa. Chodźmy do Izabel, dawno u niej nie byliśmy. Prawie dowiemy się, jak tam u niej żyćko mija.
Did you hear?
The gates to heaven.
I want to see you again.
What am I going to do without Sweetwater and oil of talc?
Still no car.
Milady, I come bearing gifts.
Gifts? Whatever is the occasion.
Dług.
Oh my. Clive, you really have outdone yourself.
Otto asked me to give it to you. To settle the Hideaway's debt with the Veil. And to compensate you for the time it took us to do so.
You disappoint me, Clive. I thought you might finally be warming to me. Tell Otto he can keep his baubles. I tried to tell him as much the first time around. The man owes me nothing, nor does the Hideaway. My contribution to the restoration effort was made freely and willingly. It was the least I could do.
You once told me Sid did you a kindness. I'd like to do the same. Please, accept it. For my sake. And for Otto's. For all of us. For all you've done.
It is rather fetching, isn't it? Very well. Otto is lucky to have you, Clive. I doubt anything could ever replace his son. But you and the others at the Hideaway are the closest thing he has to family.
Otto had a son.
Long ago, yes. Sid told me Otto lost him when he was just a boy, and blamed himself for not being able to stop it. I don't know how it happened, whether there was anything he could have done, but it was clear that it weighed heavily on him.
I didn't know.
How could you have? I doubt anyone did. Besides Sid, I've never met a man more keen to bear his sorrows in stoic silence. An ill habit, given that both have always been surrounded by friends desperate to help them.
I'm beginning to see that. Go will want to know the stones were delivered. If he's still with us.
Z wszystkich rozmów ta była w sumie najmniej nudna. Nawet kurwa mnie zaangażowała. Izabel to spoko babka. Naprawdę. Zobaczmy, jak to się wszystko rozwiknie. Rozwikła.
Mid told me she was building a ship.
Ale no patrząc na to wszystko, no to nie trzeba ukrywać, że przerażenie nie było potrzebne, Gaut, no bo wisisz kasę naszym ziomeczkom, nie?
Goat. Still alive, I see. So Lady Karen accepted the ruby.
Ah, about that. I tried my best, but she was just too stubborn to take it. She threw it right back in my face, in fact, and told me I could stick my stupid stone where the sun don't shine.
W dupę.
Karen refused payment.
I hope it wasn't something I said.
I'm sure you were as tactful as ever. Let me see what I can do.
Wonderful. I hope you have better luck than I did.
Spokojnie, już ja z nią porozmawiam. Przekonam ją na swoje piękne oko.
Lady Karen, Goad tells me you weren't happy with our offer. Would you prefer the debt was repaid in coin?
What debt? I don't recall lending any of you like me hard-earned gil. I may have tossed a talent or two in the Hideaway's coffers, but those were donations, and you can hardly call it charity if you go asking for it back.
Of course not. But one good turn deserves another. And our circumstances have changed. Surely you wouldn't shun the gratitude of a pauper who happened to have become a prince.
Oh, so you're a prince now, are you? Fine. But I'm selling it and taking what I'm owed, then you're getting the rest whether you like it or not.
Okej, ale weź go po prostu.
Where'd you even get this? A decent trader might nab 1,000 talents for a star ruby. A canny one, meanwhile, might claim it were nicked from the belt of Sid the Outlaw himself and ask twice as much. Might be I already have a buyer in mind. Might be you even know her. A fine continental maid whose beauty's only eclipsed by a guile in commerce. You wouldn't mind, would you?
Not at all. Just be sure to tell her that it's always a pleasure doing business.
Sprawdźmy teraz. Chyba, że jeszcze muszę się wrócić do Goata. Tak. Jeszcze ostatnie rozmowy. Yep.
Thanks to this lump. I sometimes wonder what I pay you for.
Speaking of which, I still haven't been paid last month's wages.
Oh, so you remember what's owed to you then? Get your ass behind that disc of yours and don't get up before those ledgers are square.
Right away.
I've seen that before.
Yeah. Plenty of times. It was the only goblet Sid ever used. Either out of habit, or because the filthy soul couldn't be bothered to find a clean one.
I knew so little about him.
Like most people.
Martha and the Dame both seem to have fond memories of him.
I bet they do.
How long did you know Sid before he...
Before he died. 20 summers, give or take. Back in the day, I was a purser on a trade ship, which is where I met him. He bought passage to... I forget where. But having nothing better to do on the long nights, we set up drinking island rum till the morning bell dragged me back to my duties. Quit my post not long after that. On account of making a fine maiden's belly fat. But me and Sid stayed close, promising we'd one day sail the seas again. That was before fate stepped in and said she was having none of it. The magic woke inside my son soon after his first name day, and there was no hiding his knack.
Couldn't you and your family have...
My family were the ones who summoned the constable, wanted the monster taken away. I couldn't turn my back on him, forget what I felt, and I couldn't for the life of me understand how they could. Luckily, Sid was of the same mind as me. It was him who stood beside me when all I wanted was to tear the whole world down. Him who cried for me when I had no tears left of my own. Him, who swore he'd do everything he could to stop it from happening again. And he was true to his word, too. Left the Royal Army once and for all. His ranks, his ribbons, gone. Just like that. Threw away everything he had. All to right a wrong that no one else had the courage to face. I knew then I'd follow that man to the ends of the earth.
Co tu dużo gadać, Sid był naprawdę spoko gościem, nie? O kurwa! Wspominki! Nie no, elegancko.
He was always too clever for his own good, was Sid. Saw the world for what it really was, while the rest of us were content to go along with the lie we were shown. And it can't have been easy, bearing that burden alone. But he didn't let it stop him. He never lost faith in what he believed was right. And that gave us faith in him. Faith he'd steer us true. So I swore to myself that I'd always be right behind him, ready to catch the stubborn sod, if ever he should fall. But I couldn't even do that. Ignore me. Just the ramblings of a tired old man.
Nie od to.
Leave that lot. I'll tidy it up in a bit.
Może zrób sobie chwilę przerwy po prostu. Uspokój się. To, że Sida nie ma, oddziałuje na każdego w tej kryjówce.
This is Sid's handwriting. Dear Otto.
I may be drunk, but I wanted you to know this place would be fucked without you. Love you, you grumpy old sod.
This note.
What about it?
Sid was right. Without you, we'd all be lost.
He should have bloody well said so then. Just once. Before he went. But then, why would he? Him, or anyone? I'd only have told him to piss off. You're wrong, though. Both of you. It was never just me keeping the hideaway afloat. It was all of us. I just shoved people in the right direction. I barely seem to be able to do that anymore.
Would you rather go at the helm?
Well, maybe I've got a few more years left in me.
I'm going to hold you to that, Otto.
Before you go, Sid would have wanted you to have this.
But that's...
This'll do me just fine. Thanks for the ray of sunshine. I'll see if I can't pay you back.
Already have.
No cóż, w tej misji mini mnie troszkę zaskoczyli. Jednak brakowało troszkę rozmów o Seedzie. Niech nikt nie mówi, że jestem złym gospodarzem. Seed. Ach, kurwa. Ale nie no, brakuje go tu strasznie. Jest takie odczucie, kurwa, braku czegoś właśnie bez niego. Ja udałbym się jeszcze do swojego biura, sprawdzić, co to jest ta reszta, bo te misje poboczne, okej, na zielono, co są zaznaczone, wykonałem. Ale jestem jeszcze ciekaw, co to jest tam dalej. Czy to są jakieś po prostu listy do mnie, nie wiem, co się w ogóle aktualnie dzieje w kryjówce? Czy co to dokładnie jest? No bo chciałbym wiedzieć, nie? Bo była tam jeszcze reszta takich popierdółek. Pustynny sojusz na przykład. A, to są takie popierdółki. Drogi Seedzie, mam nadzieję, że wybaczysz mi, iż poddałem ciebie i twojego kochanego wuja testowi. Jestem pewna, że człowiek na twoim stanowisku rozumie, że czasem ma zaufanie trzeba sobie zasłużyć. Zwłaszcza w takich czasach jak obecnie. Jeśli to cokolwiek znaczy, to tobie udało się już zasłużyć na moje i zapewniam cię, że łatwo go nie utracisz. Niech będzie to początkiem owocnej znajomości. Ruzena. No trochę tego jest do domu. O! Przepraszam za to, co miało miejsce w Rozalicie. Przeraża mnie myśl o tym, co mogłoby się wydarzyć, gdybyście razem z Gawem i Torgalem nie walczyli tak zaciekle. Po raz kolejny byliście przy mnie, gdy was potrzebowałam i na zawsze będę wam za to wdzięczna. Widok, jak mój dawny dom został obrócony w płonące zgliszcza, wypełnia moje serce po brzegi smutkiem. Ale nie możemy już oglądać się za siebie, musimy skupić się na tym, co tu i teraz. Nasze wspomnienia poczekają do chwili, aż to wszystko się skończy. Jill. Cisza w Dominium. Dalmecy i cesarscy w impasie. Warczą na siebie z obnażonymi kłami niczym kundle ze slumsów. Ale nikt nie chce wykonać pierwszego ruchu. Zupełnie jakby obie strony zdawały sobie sprawę, że wdepnęły w ogromną, śmierdzącą kupę czokobo. Gdyby mnie ktoś spytał o zdanie, to pozostawiłbym miedziaka, że ten konflikt nie rozegra się w najbliższym czasie. Będę informował cię na bieżąco. Gaw. Najjaśniejszy płomień. Mój lordzie Markizie, po raz kolejny proszę o wybaczenie dla moich ludzi za sposób, w jaki przywitali lorda w Lazarusie. Pragnę nadmienić, że był lord ostatnią osobą, jaką spodziewaliśmy się zobaczyć u naszych bram. W ciągu krótkiego czasu, jaki minął od naszego ponownego spotkania, udowodnił lord, że jest tym samym człowiekiem, za którym wiele lat temu podążyłem do Steelwindu i prawdziwym dziedzicem spuścizny swego ojca. Szkoda, że lord dowódca Sir Tyler i inni, którzy zginęli tamtej nocy, nie mogą zobaczyć, jak jasny jest lorda płomień. Niniejszym oświadczam, że miecze strażników są oddane tobie i twojej sprawie, a ja jestem dumny, mogąc znów stanąć u twego boku. Wade. Jedz codziennie jabłko. Jakiś chłopak przyniósł dziś z ogrodu kosz martelek. Słodkie jak miód i chrupiące jak wczesnozimowy przymrozek. Powiedziałem sobie, że zjem tylko jedno, ale doszedłem do wniosku, że skoro nikt nie słucha starego Ottona, to ja też nie muszę. Daj Nickelowi i reszcie znać, że dobrze się spisali. Kiedyś nikt nie tykał tych jabłek prócz Seeda, bo smakowały paskudnie. Ale dla niego nigdy nie chodziło o smak, ale o dowód, że jesteśmy w stanie poradzić sobie bez niczyjej pomocy. No i zobacz teraz, Seed byłby dumny. Otto. Tak pod innym imieniem. Wybacz, że piszę do ciebie te głupiutkie listy. Chciałabym, żebyśmy mieli więcej czasu na osobiste rozmowy, ale odnoszę wrażenie, że nie każdy dzień, który spędzamy razem, przypadają dwa, które musimy ścierpieć w rozłące. Ucieszyłam się na wieść o twoim niespodziewanym spotkaniu z Ambrozją. Czy też powinnam powiedzieć z białym sercem? Opowiadałeś mi kiedyś, jak twój Chocobo poświęciła się, by chronić cię tamtej nocy przy bramie Feniksa, a teraz, wiele lat później, dowiadujemy się, że spędziła całe życie, robiąc to samo, broniąc innych. Pewne rzeczy nigdy się nie zmieniają, prawda, Clive? Jill. Okej. Już wszystko przeczytaliśmy jak trzeba. Aczkolwiek tutaj sobie zakończymy odcinek. No i co? Odsyłam oczywiście do innych serii na kanale. Być może następnym razem szurniemy 3 odcinki naraz z Final Fantasy. Zobaczymy, jak to się wszystko potoczy. A na razie żegnam się z państwem. No i co? Z farcikiem, ziomeczki. Yo, zostaw subika.